Hi, I'm Pasha from A1 Base.
Hey, I'm Navvye from Bindwell.
And here we're talking about how AI is basically being used in science to make some real wins in the real world. Maybe before we go on, do you want to explain to us what you do at Bindwell?
So at Bindwell, we're using AI to make better pesticides using state-of-the-art AI models.
And when you say better pesticides, does that mean the pesticides that are used on farms right now, you're using AI to make newer chemicals and better chemicals?
Precisely, yes. So if you look at the older generation of pesticides, they've had a lot of problems, Most pesticides are actually carcinogens. They're very harmful to humans. So we plan to make better pesticides that are not only more environmentally safe, but also more targeted solutions for pesticides.
That's great. And I think Bindwell is only possible now because AI has gotten so good that it allows you to do more. Is that right?
Yeah, this is definitely true. If you look at the innovations in AI, especially in the life sciences, over the last 5 years, it's really sort of taken off, with AlphaFold 2 and 3, and then other virtual screening, advancements, and then with protein language models, for example. A lot of advancements are being made. The problem is you hear about it in therapeutics all the time. You hear about innovation in cancer research and therapeutics, but when was the last time you heard about innovation in pesticides?
It's crazy because pesticides basically hit everyone because they basically use them in the food supply chain and food supply production cycle. Is that right?
Yeah, precisely. They're omnipresent and they're very important to us. Without pesticides, agrarian output would decrease by 40%.
Oh, that's crazy. So what's cool about Bindwell, right, is that you're using AI not just to do the research faster, but basically you're using AI to get to the real world faster.
Yeah, precisely. So if you look at pesticide as a sort of search space problem, it's one target protein and then so many millions of molecules. The more accurate you are at screening this sort of target space, the better pesticides you're going to get. AI enables you to, do high throughput screening and do millions of molecules in days rather than years, as it would normally take in wet labs and so on and so forth.
So basically you help improve the wet labs because you do a lot of the work before you even start doing
Precisely. You can replace a lot of the wet lab work with AI models.
Oh, that's crazy. So are you finding that with your customers now, they're able to actually go and create pesticides in a time scale that's much faster than a few years?
Yeah, we're actually building a pesticide ourselves. So that our plan is to have a pesticide in field trials by the end of 3 months. We've identified a target. We're working towards screening molecules and proteins for that target. And so, yeah, it seems super exciting. For context, the average amount of time that it takes is 2 to 3 years. And we're planning to do it in 3 months.
And that's because you've really gone down to the foundation layers of these models, right? So you've basically done work to make models better at finding results in pesticide search and pesticide creation.
Precisely, yes. So one of the most important things is that speed is extremely important in our case because just the order of magnitude, there are maybe 9 billion synthesizable compounds. So the speed is extremely important. So for example, AlphaFold 3 is amazing and great at protein structure prediction and protein ligand structure prediction, but it's a bit slower than we wanted it to be. So we ended up making a model that's actually up to 4 times faster, so that we can just scan through tons of protein ligand complexes in a shorter period of time.
And it's interesting because you're using AI to solve these really hard real-world problems better and faster than before. And I guess maybe for everyone else out there who are building businesses in different domains, do you have any tips or thoughts on how they can kind of take your approach to make their business processes and their, how they are discovering things in the scientific field or anywhere else better than before?
Yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of alpha in just using AI tools for mundane processes. For example, you could easily create an agent for scraping through, tons of scientific reports and gathering the data that you actually want, which is what we ended up doing ourselves as well. So there's a tremendous amount of alpha in just doing that for industrial companies, for example. Yeah,
that's a crazy thing to actually think about, that we can use AI to do things that would have taken teams or individuals months or years to kind of do. And maybe for the developers out there who are working around AI in the space, do you have any tips for them on how to actually make these processes better? Like, if you're down there sitting down on a laptop and thinking about using AI to make, a big impact somewhere, like what would you tell them to do first?
I would just say the data is way more important, because sort of what we ended up realizing is the architecture is extremely important, and sure, you can make architectural tweaks, but if the best architecture with bad data is you're going to have a bad model. So at that point, like, refining your data becomes important, ensuring there's no leakage between your training set and the test set, so that when you actually test it on like real world, you don't get like garbage results, or like just make sure that your model is not overfit. So data pre-processing has probably been what I spend like 60% of my time on, just making sure that the data is good enough for our models.
So you're clearly working in an old industry that takes a while to adopt new technology. How are you breaking through?
We're just building real pesticides faster than before. So we're going to have pesticides in the field by the end of 3 months, and that's going to work out.
And I think the great thing is, like, you solve this problem about AI adoption not through anything weird or like businessy. It's really that you just do a better job. Is that right?
Yeah, this is correct. And the reason for that is because we're not very good at selling. So we're good at doing R&D. And so the best way to actually move forward for us is just to do R&D.
And I love that. I think it's great, because I think the weird thing is a lot of people think AI is making people less honest around their work, but really it's letting you create more honest, more impactful work faster.
100%. So I was 13 when you first did YC. How has it changed between like 2019 and 2025?
Oh man, it's crazy that you did YC when you were in high school, and here I am again. Look, in 2019, YC was in the middle of the B2B SaaS era, and it's very different to what's happening today. Like, AI is one of the coolest things to happen to tech and business in the last 20 to 30 years. Couldn't help but jump in. But one of the best things about YC now is that it's really it's more energetic, because we're not in the middle of like trying to sell B2B SaaS. So we're selling really new, exciting solutions. So that's one thing. Another thing that's really quite interesting is YC have done a great job making the program better. It's weird to say, but YC has improved in the last 6 years. We meet our batch mates better. They give us better advice. They set us up for more success in fundraising and talking to customers.
We have cool talks like this.
Yes, we have cool talks like this. And I think that's like a huge win. I think there's still no better place in the world to start a business that tries to have that type of global impact. And I think one of the great things is that our batch mates are really like fun, and so I think the great thing is the culture around working with your batchmates and helping each other out is like so much better. And I think it's one of the coolest things to see. Everyone helps each other out. Everyone loves talking to each other. And like, what's great is people want to see everyone else succeed. So yeah, that's one of the big differences since you were 13.
Yeah. And also, how do you like, I used Forage. You're like, so what kind of emotions do you get when like someone has used your product before and now I've actually used Forage before. So, congrats on the great product there.
It's interesting. Like, the reason I'm doing another startup is because it's so much fun helping people out and seeing better things happen in the world. And, when I hear someone like you using Forage, which is like my last company, honestly, like, we get so happy about it, because ultimately, I think everyone making startups, especially ones doing YC, we're not here just to make money. I think we're here to like actually make things a little better. For you, it's pesticides. For other people, it's engineering and like productivity. For other people, it's like saving climate change. And I think the great thing is like there's an earnestness to it. And I think when you see people use your product, it's so great. And I'm back in the game doing another startup because I just love that process. Seeing people do better is just so much fun.